Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today we have another little bit of a fun video for you. We're going to keep doing our little wish listing videos until we've done every army that there is in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So for 3rd edition, today we're going to look at another one of the Chaos factions as we work our way through the Chaos factions in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And today that faction in particular from Chaos is the Disciples of Tzeentch. So today we're going to talk a little bit about things I personally would like to see for Tzeentch. This could be a mix of models, lore, rules, and the whole shebang of it all really. I want to have a good look and sort of talk about all the things I want to see, why I want to see them, how I think they could be good things, and talk about some points that maybe I'm not certain in how it comes to be, but definitely I've got the idea in my head of like what I would like to see. So anyway, let's get cracking on into this. This is going to be 10 things I'd like to see for Age of Sigmar 3rd edition for the faction Disciples of Tzeentch. Starting source number 1, changes to horrors. And there's actually 2 things I want to see here for horrors. So first of all, I'd love to see some changes to the rules in how horrors work in the game, so that they're maybe not the, I guess, oppressive and feel bad situation that they currently can be. I don't know exactly what we need to do with horrors to sort of not curb stomp them and not nerf them completely, but definitely bring them back in line and make them not quite so an oppressive unit to play on the tabletop. They can be really quite frustrating a unit to deal with. You know, you can put 10 horrors on an objective and they've got a really good chance of holding on to that objective for a lot longer than they probably should, just due to the split and split again rules. But I do think that while I like those splitting rules, I'd like to see some way of maybe balancing this to potentially, you know, stop them splitting and splitting again. Maybe damage with rend ignores the ability to split and split again. So if you get hit with rend, you no longer get split and split again. They can only split and split again if they get attacked by a weapon with no rend. Could be maybe one potential way to lower horror's ability to just completely just deny board space to your opponent. But I think more importantly, one of the issues with this rule is how you buy horrors. Currently, you have to buy a box of pinks and then 2 boxes of blues and brims. This is such a terrible way to have the unit working on the tabletop. And maybe this idea in itself that I'm thinking of now is a way to potentially stop horrors being so oppressive. Maybe instead of having that, you get 5 pink horrors in a box, and then you get 10 blues and 10 brims in the same box set, and you have this box set for maybe somewhere middling of the cost, maybe, you know, $60 Australian or something like that. And maybe this sort of limits how your horrors get used in units, and maybe now your horrors are in 5, 10, 15. Is this maybe the answer to making horrors a more fun unit to play against on the tabletop? All of a sudden that amount of wounds there stops being quite so enormous that it can be, and becomes a lot more manageable if they're 5-man units. Or 5 minion units, I think. What do you think on horrors? Number 2, elite mortal units. This is something I'd really like to see, and I think some good examples of like elite mortal units that we have in other armies. Khorne is probably the most well fleshed out with its mortal range out of any of the Chaos aligned gods, in the fact that it's got, you know, as its sort of baseline troops, you have Blood Reavers, which are your cultists, and then you've got things like Blood Warriors, and you've even got like Wrathmongers and Skull Reapers on top of that. That are all these much more elite variations. Tzeentch doesn't really have that. You've got Kharak Acolytes, and then we go into the Beastmen units. And I'd like to see maybe that Kharak Acolyte look sort of taken to the next level. Maybe the answer is literally just putting Kharak Acolytes on discs, and maybe some more bloated and grotesque versions of Kharak Acolytes as they're sort of like changed monsters. So maybe some Kharak Acolyte mutants or something like that could be a really interesting sort of way to go to get a more heavy elite infantry, something more akin to like Blight Kings or Skull Reapers. Could be a really interesting look to do with your Kharak Acolytes. I do think it's one of the most nice aesthetic parts of the army. I absolutely love Kharak Acolyte models. I've got a nice decent amount of them painted up myself, and I'd love some more elite versions of that, like maybe some mutants that are much more monstrous infantry, and some Disc Riders as a much more fast, elite, hard-hitting infantry. Number 3, I'd like to see them quite simply update the Finecast and metal models that are in the range. Now, I don't actually know if there are any metal models, so I might be just saying that and thinking there are some. It's the Fate Master metal. He's the one that springs to mind, but I definitely like to see the Finecast models of things like the Blue Scribes, the Curseling, Eye of Tzeentch, and other ones like that updated for some new plastic sculpts, just to bring them in line, make them look that little bit more crisp and clean. I mean, the Finecast and metal models that Tzeentch do have are pretty nice. Like, they're all really nice models, but I think just that upgrade to the next level in some nice new plastic renditions of all those famous models that we have for the Tzeentch army would be a really great thing to have for the army in general. I mean, I want eventually Games Workshop to have no metal and no Finecast models in their range and just have all brand new plastic models that are both easy to put together and build, easy to paint, and also easy to convert as well if that's what you want to do with them. Number 4, and this is some narrative I'd like to see you push forward, and sort of how we've sort of maybe seen Tzeentch maybe as not a main figure in Broken Realms. Of course, a realm that Tzeentch has a major stake in, Shamon, was heavily affected by the going-ons in Broken Realms Bellicor. And with all of that happening, I'd like to see how maybe Tzeentch has taken advantage of the situation, or looked to take advantage of the situation, and what exactly is the Great Deceiver's plans there now to sort of use everything that's happened to his advantage. Tzeentch has also just been one of those gods that's been on like a little bit of the back burner recently. We've not really had that much narrative pushing Tzeentch to the fore. It's definitely been all Slaanesh all the time and go at the moment, and I'd love to know what Tzeentch is exactly up to. With this whole sort of issues where, you know, maybe we've got Slaanesh cults growing in cities now, like we've learned from Excelsis, and we obviously before Excelsis had the Slaanesh cults, it had Tzeentch cults before that. So what has happened to all those Tzeentch cults and all the stuff there? I just want to know, what is Tzeentch's now goal in the mortal realms? What exactly is the plans of the Great Deceiver? And how are we going to see them achieved or hope to be achieved in the future? Number 5, more endless spells. Now, I don't necessarily mean this has to be actual more endless spell models, though I do think if any army deserves more than the 3, it is definitely the Disciples of Tzeentch. I mean, the Chaos Magic focused god definitely deserves to have a ton more endless spells than any of the other Chaos factions, so this would be a really cool thing to see. Getting maybe another set of 4, giving you 7 different endless spells could be really cool. But also, Tzeentch is one of the armies without a terrain feature, and maybe this could be like some sort of arcane fulcrum, some magical point, maybe a return of the Balewind Vortex used as an arcane fulcrum, much like it was in Storm of Magic in Warhammer Fantasy times, where you can put Tzeentch wizards on and they can summon endless spells freely or with quite a few bonuses, ability to maybe control multiple endless spells at the same time or something like that. It could be a really cool thing to bring to the table of giving like Tzeentch this ability to play with endless spells. Not breaking the game in how like maybe bound endless spells did originally, but definitely something of where maybe one wizard can control multiple, because that's an interesting thing in itself. Like, yes, cool, this wizard's so powerful and so infused with raw energy that they can control multiple endless spells that are predatory, but also as soon as that wizard dies, none of them controlled, so it does have its negatives, I think. I really love to see endless spells pushed more in Tzeentch. They're an army that definitely deserves to have a bit more love than what they've gotten. The endless spells are okay at best. They're not the best endless spells in the game, which is interesting because you would think out of any army, Tzeentch would be having some really good ones. Number 6, a named mortal character. Something that could be a pinnacle focal point in the lore for the armies of Tzeentch to sort of focus around, especially the mortal followers. Now, I do think there are a couple of interesting options for this. Now, with this, we don't have to go to, say, a Kharak Acolyte-based character or, you know, a particular character like a Curseling or something like that. But we could maybe go with, like, an Ogroid. Thaumaturge could be a really cool named character. Imagine this, like, a little bit larger Ogroid Thaumaturge that looks, like, 10 times cooler than the normal one looks, and that model looks sweet anyway. Or maybe, like, a Zangor Shaman or a Zangor Champion. Could be an interesting look as well for the Tzeentch. I mean, that also kills 2 birds with 1 stone with that, being the fact that it can also be a Beast of Chaos named character if it is that particular model. But I do think an Ogroid named character would be sweet, but I wouldn't be upset if we got, you know, something like a Fate Master or a Curseling or a Wizard, just a generic sort of Kharak Acolyte style Wizard, etc. We obviously have Vortimus from the Warhammer Underworlds series, but I think we need a more prevalent named character. Though, if you know you push Vortimus as a more predominant character in the book and give him some more lore and expand upon him, he could be a great named character for the army as well. Something you could definitely use there. I think this is something in general we could see from a lot of the Underworld's warbands have pushed the characters in them more, make those characters that are fighting in Shadespire and Underworlds much more prevalent in the lore, and make them seem bigger, make them that next level of character. Number 7, Tzeentch marks Slaves to Darkness models. Now this I think can apply to all the Chaos armies, and I probably won't mention it in my other videos because I think this is a point for all of the Chaos Gods really. I'd really love to see the marked Chaos Warriors come back. Now in the start of Age of Sigmar, a lot of the Chaos Lords that were marked to particular Chaos Gods got their own sort of rules and became their own sort of characters. I think we could maybe see a change to this in bringing back those characters and just having like a cool Chaos Lord of Tzeentch, a cool Chaos Lord of Khorne model. Could be a really great way just to have those characters have that little bit more sort of a look and a feel to them. Or even the alternate option is with your Chaos Warriors, the ability to give upgrade packs to give them like some Tzeentch head options or Tzeentch weapon options. You know, maybe they're carrying like glaives similar to the Karak Acolytes, or swords similar to them. It would be a really cool sort of look you can give your Chaos Warriors. Make a Chaos Warrior kit that's compatible with all those different options would be really great. Definitely something I want to see, and these like characters and just having these ability to have these models that look like they're from a Tzeentch army, that aren't just you know Slaves to Darkness model or Beast of Chaos models painted up in a different color. Having them straight out of the box would be great. Number 8, Change Beasts, the monsters of Tzeentch. We obviously have the Mutalith Vortex Beast, which is an amazing looking model representing this like weird mutated creature of Tzeentch. But I think with Tzeentch we have the ability to go down further down this rabbit hole and give us some really weird and twisted and corrupted models. A Tzeentch dragon would be an amazing thing. I mean, we obviously have the old Guruk, the Great Drake from the world that was in Warhammer Fantasy, that was an awesome looking model. And something like him again as like this weird mutated dragon would be awesome. Or potentially a Chaos Corrupted Gargan, Chimera, something, a weird and wondrous being. I think Chimera actually is a really great option for this. It just is a model to me that just screams Tzeentch. All the 3 heads and all the different bits and pieces coming together to make this monster that's sort of greater than the sum of its parts and got these weird and wondrous and wacky rules. Just sounds like an absolute sure thing to fit in Tzeentch. I'd love to see like a weird Tzeentch Chimera that has like maybe the head of a Lord of Change, and it's, on its tail it's got like a screamer that's sort of melded into its tail or something like that. Change Beasts and monsters of Tzeentch, and I would also include like giant mounts for your characters. One thing that Tzeentch doesn't have for its wizards or anything like that is something equivalent to say the monsters of Nurgle, where they have obviously Morbidex Twiceborn and the other ones of the Magath Lords, and for Slaanesh we've obviously got some other more larger beasts that they can ride as well, like the Exalted Seekers. I think some larger beasts, particularly the ones for your characters, would be really cool to have. Number 9, I'd like to see the Gaunt Summoners Familiars models come back, or indeed maybe Chaos Familiars in general. I think Chaos Familiars add a really interesting look to the Disciples of Tzeentch army. Now, what we can do is we can think of these as maybe little extra models you can be purchasing and buying, giving extra abilities to your chaotic wizards. It'd be really cool to like add a particular model that gives any chaos wizard around him something to sort of add to it. You know, maybe you've got the book, so you get an extra spell next to you if you've got the book familiar. You got the little fish one there, maybe a -1 to hit if he's around you. And you know, maybe get +1 to cast if you're near the bird, etc. I think adding the Chaos Familiars back to the game would be a really cool thing to do with Tzeentch. Give you a ton of different options. Maybe these are sort of like mount traits, but for wizards. So they're not actually mount traits, they're giving you these little additional like companion models. Maybe we call them companion traits. You're able to take familiars and Chaos Familiars as companion traits that you can put next to your wizard, one wizard in your army, and then you know you can unlock them as like a special enhancement or something like that to your army to get these familiars and give potential different wizards around your army these extra little abilities. And of course they would come with these amazingly cool little models that give you a ton of different effects and abilities depending on which ones you choose to take. Number 10, explore the Gaunt Summoner's backstories and narrative. Now, I'm going to talk about something else, maybe a little bit off topic, but something I thought was really cool when it started happening in Warhammer, well, Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, was when they started bringing out particular models for all the different ring wraiths. When they started telling us the stories about the different ring wraiths, obviously we know about the Witch King of Angmar, but we started hearing about the Deceiver and the other ones as well that were all throughout the Lord of the Rings world, and how they all sort of became who they are, where they're from, what sort of kings they were and how they fell, and all those sort of rules. I'll be really interested to know all this sort of stuff about the Gaunt Summoners. I think it's a really interesting sort of angle we have, that there are 9 of them exactly. They're all bound to Archaon completely, and how they all sort of interact around the mortal realms, how they came to be bound by Archaon, how they came to be a Gaunt Summoner in the first place, their backstories, who they were, what they were doing, and now what they are doing as well is just as important. I think we've got a ton of options here on how we can sort of progress with these characters and how they can sort of help shape the narrative of Tzeentch in the mortal realms as major figure points, and also just like a bunch of cool characters. I mean, it also gives access to, maybe we leave 1 or 2 unnamed and leave the stories at that, but maybe 7, that gives us extra character models, and maybe this solves that named mortal character option when we start getting 7 particular of the Gaunt Summoners that are named characters now, and we leave the other 2 blank, because you always want to leave these particular characters blank so people can fill in the sort of void and holes of who maybe the other 2 are. They can create their own stories there, but maybe, you know, a few of them, if not the majority of them, give us actual names and identities and tell us exactly who they are and what they're doing in the mortal realms. And with that, that's 10 of my ideas for what I would like to see for the Disciples of Tzeentch in Age of Sigmar 3rd edition. I'd love to know all your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. Let us know what you would like to see, what you wouldn't like to see, new models you want to see, rules that you'd like to see changed or made better. And I especially want to hear from people how they think maybe we stop the horrors being such a negative play experience and make them more of a fun unit, because split and split again should certainly be a fun rule, but it just doesn't seem to be that way in certain particular games. So I'd love to know your thoughts on that especially, and also if you were to create a backstory for a Gaunt Summoner, I'd love to hear that story in the comments below as well. Who would he be? Where would he be from? What would he have done? How would he become bound by Archaon? Well, thank you all for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Also, while you're at it, why not come chat more with us on Discord? We've got a link in the description of the video below to our Discord server. You can come chat with me and other members of our fine little community here at Sinful Gaming. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel in various different ways. First of all, to our Patreon members, Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shot First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, MJ, and Dyna226. Thank you to, as well, our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Fire Titan, Steve T, The Real Zeop, Chris Wallace, Turriot12, Vinny, and Lock Lorick. And a special thanks to our artist who does all the channel art for us, Lady Witchfox Art, thank you very much. And to our Discord moderator, Xmorphic, you do a fantastic job on Discord for us as well. Thank you all, everyone, for watching. If you'd like to help support on Patreon or YouTube member, or help support the channel in another way, you can do so by following one of the links in the description of the video to Patreon or YouTube members, or go buy some Sinful Gaming merch from our Teespring store, also linked in the video's description. That's it for today, everyone. Thank you again. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.